breakup is not just the end of a relationship. It's the death of a version of yourself. A version that wasn't strong enough, courageous enough, or aware enough to hold the center when everything started to fall apart. It's easy to look at her and blame her for leaving. It's seductive to point at the circumstances, the timing, her coldness, her betrayal. But that road leads nowhere. It spirals into victimhood, bitterness, and stagnation. So stop, turn inward. The truth is, there's a man inside you that you've been avoiding. A man you've been too afraid to become because he demands everything from you. He asks you to suffer voluntarily, to carry responsibility, to set your own standards instead of living by hers. He asks you to grow up. That's terrifying. But it's also your only path forward. You have to understand this. Pain is not your enemy here. Pain is your compass. It's pointing to the places inside you that were undeveloped. Your self-respect, your boundaries, your discipline. She left, or you let her go because something wasn't aligned. Maybe you lost yourself trying to please her. Maybe you shrunk so she could feel bigger. Maybe you let things slide, your health, your ambition, your presence, thinking love would be enough. But love without strength dissolves into dependency, and dependency breeds resentment, and resentment always ends in separation. So what do you do now? You become the man you were too afraid to be when she was still around. You pick up the sword of truth and start hacking away at the parts of yourself that were weak, that were small, that made excuses. That means facing your flaws without flinching. It means admitting that you weren't as disciplined as you should have been, that you avoided hard conversations, that you tolerated things you knew were wrong, that you didn't stand tall. And then you change, radically, ruthlessly, relentlessly. Wake up earlier. Hit the gym not to post about it, but to earn your own self-respect. Read the books that challenge your thinking. Develop a routine so structured that chaos has no room to live in your life anymore. Speak clearly. Walk with posture. Reclaim your masculinity, not the shallow performative kind, but the deep-rooted, calm strength that comes from self-mastery. You see, the version of you she left behind was the incomplete one. She didn't reject your soul, she rejected your stagnation. Whether she knew it consciously or not, she saw the potential in you and knew you weren't living up to it. And here's the cruel beauty of it all. Now that she's gone, you're finally forced to. The man you were too afraid to be is the man who doesn't chase. He attracts, he builds, he leads. He doesn't beg for attention or approval because his life is too full of purpose to have time for that. He's dangerous, but he's in control. He's kind, but not weak. He's assertive, but not arrogant. That man doesn't just get her attention. He makes her question why she ever left in the first place. But here's the twist. By the time you become him, you won't care if she regrets it or not. You'll have outgrown the need for her validation. You'll see that the breakup wasn't a tragedy. It was a catalyst. A fire that burned away the illusion so that something stronger could be forged in its place. You were hurt. Good. That pain is fuel. Use it. Convert it into momentum. Let the heartbreak crack your ego wide open so your higher self can step in and take control. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about making her feel worse. This is about reclaiming your potential as a man who leads his own life with integrity and strength. And when she does see you again, if she ever does, it won't be the same man standing in front of her. It'll be the one you were always meant to become. When a relationship ends, you're not just dealing with someone's absence, you're dealing with the crumbling of an identity. Everything you were in that relationship, her boyfriend, her protector, her emotional anchor, suddenly vanishes. And what's left? Chaos. You wake up and don't know what to do with yourself. The habits that revolved around her, the morning texts, the calls, the shared plans, the small rituals, are now black holes of time and energy. And if you're not careful, that chaos begins to consume you. But this is where most men go wrong. They try to numb the chaos with distraction, alcohol, casual flings, late night, social media, video games, endless scrolling, mindless comfort. But you have to understand, chaos doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It grows. And if you don't confront it directly, it will dominate you. So what's the solution? You organize your chaos, relentlessly, consciously, daily. When the world around you breaks apart, your first job is to rebuild structure inside yourself. Start small, make your bed, clean your room. These aren't cliché self-help slogans, they're symbolic. You're not just putting your blanket in order. You're demonstrating to your psyche that you still have control, that you can impose will and order upon disorder, that you refuse to be crushed by the collapse. Take inventory of your life, not emotionally, practically, Ask yourself, what have I been avoiding? Where is my life messy, disorganized, or directionless? What daily rituals did I let die because I got comfortable? Then tackle them one by one. Start with your space. Your physical environment reflects your mental state. If your room is a mess, your mind is a mess. If your schedule is chaotic, your emotions will follow, so you start building a fortress of order. Clean your living space like you're preparing it for a king, because that king is you, becoming who you were meant to be. From there, expand outward. Fix your sleep, fix your diet, fix your budget, get a calendar. Write down your goals. Stop living like a leaf in the wind and start moving like a man with purpose. Why? Because structure is strength. And right now, your emotions are fragile. Your sense of identity is fractured. You need to rebuild a scaffolding to hold yourself together while you reforge your spirit. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. She will feel the weight of your absence not when you message her, not when you post stories trying to look unbothered, but when you disappear into order, when you're no longer accessible, no longer online at midnight, no longer reacting to her breadcrumbs. That silence, that calm, that discipline, it echoes. It's unsettling. It signals that you're not just moving on, you're leveling up. Most men spiral after a breakup because they lack systems. You must become the opposite. You must become a man whose life is so dialed in, so clean, so focused, that people look at you and wonder how you're doing it. The irony is, you're doing it because you were broken. Because the pain forced you to confront your laziness, your excuses, your avoidance. And you must thank the chaos for that, because chaos is the birthplace of potential. Everything great is born out of disorder that was tamed. Remember this, the world doesn't hand you peace, it hands you entropy, pain, uncertainty. Your job as a man is to confront it, wrestle with it, and turn it into something beautiful. That's what a creator does, and you must become a creator now, not of content, but of your life. This isn't about punishing her. This isn't about winning the breakup. It's about becoming so focused, so ordered, and so grounded that she realizes the man you're becoming is no longer the man she left. And even if she never sees it, you will. You'll walk into your room, into your work, into your relationships, and feel the strength that comes from a life rebuilt, from chaos tamed, from discipline reclaimed. So get up, pick one small task, finish it, then another, stack the wins. Watch your inner storm begin to calm. You are not powerless. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are simply disorganized. And now it's time to build. In the aftermath of a breakup, there's a powerful temptation to speak. You want to explain. You want to vent. You want closure. You want to be understood, especially by her. You write texts and delete them. You rehearse conversations in your head. You overthink her last words. You hope if you say the right thing, she'll come back or at least acknowledge your pain. But here's a truth most men don't want to hear. Talking won't save you. Words are cheap when they're not backed by transformation. After a breakup, your instinct to overcommunicate is often a disguised form of desperation. You're reaching out not from power, but from weakness. You're trying to control something that has already fallen apart. So what do you do instead? You go silent, you stop chasing, you stop explaining, you stop trying to be understood, and instead you become someone who cannot be ignored. That's the paradox. Silence, when paired with forward motion, is deafening. It says more than any clever message ever could. When you stop reacting, stop replying, stop announcing every minor move or progress update, you shift the dynamic. You are no longer playing the role of the wounded boy, you are stepping into the quiet strength of a man with direction. Why does this work? Because people don't feel the weight of your words. They feel the void left by your absence. She doesn't start to feel the breakup 10 times harder because you sent a final poetic message. She feels it when you vanish, not into depression or bitterness, but into growth, into discipline, into purpose. And this isn't about manipulation. It's not about pretending to be unaffected or playing mind games. It's about rebuilding your identity without needing her to witness it. You move forward not because you want her to miss you, but because staying still is killing you. Now, let me be clear, silence isn't passive. This isn't about sitting in your room waiting for the pain to pass. It's about channeling that pain into focused, consistent action. You train, you study, you improve your finances, you set goals that scare you, you build a routine that makes your old self look lazy and unfocused, and you don't broadcast it. You're not doing this for social media. You're not doing this to show her what she lost. You're doing this because you finally realized your value was never meant to be proven to her in the first place. It's something you live out day by day, brick by brick. This shift from words to action is what separates the average man from the rare one. Most men collapse under emotional pressure. They spiral, they beg, they vent to everyone. But the rare man, he gets quiet, focused, dangerous. And the irony? That silence hits harder than any argument. She starts to wonder why you're not reaching out, why you seem composed, why you've gone from emotional to unavailable. And it stings. Not because you're playing a game, but because you've stopped playing entirely. You're building now. You see, when you move more and speak less, you stop being predictable. You disrupt the story she told herself about you. She may have thought you'd always be there, always apologizing, always explaining. But now she's left alone with the silence, and in that silence, she starts to reflect. That's when you shift from being someone she left to someone she lost. But by then, something interesting will have happened. You won't care as much. Not because you're numb, but because you've changed. The man who needed closure has evolved. He's too busy building his future to dwell on the past. And that's when true power emerges, when you no longer need to be heard because your results speak so loudly that they echo in places your voice never could. You don't need to tell her who you are becoming. You just need to become it. So go quiet. Go deep. Let your actions scream. She'll feel it, not in your words, but in the fact that you stopped using them. In the days after a breakup, you'll be tempted to text her, tempted to check her story, tempted to go out, hook up with someone new, or chase attention just to feel something again. Tempted to distract yourself with anything that can numb the gnawing ache in your chest. But here's a hard truth. Every time you choose short-term relief over long-term growth, you're betraying your future self. You're trading healing for a high, discipline for dopamine. And that's how most men lose, not to the breakup, but to themselves. See, there's a window after heartbreak, a window where your brain is on fire. Your nervous system is raw. You're exposed, emotionally unstable, questioning your worth, your decisions, your entire identity. That's the exact moment where the greatest transformations can happen, but only if you have the strength to resist the urge for instant gratification. Because delayed gratification is what separates a man in pain from a man in power. Think of it like this. When you message her for closure, you're not really seeking answers, you're seeking comfort. You're hoping she'll say something that makes you feel better about yourself, something that justifies why things fell apart. But you already know what you need to know. The relationship ended. She's not coming back. That conversation won't bring clarity. It'll only reopen the wound. But when you refuse to reach out, when you hold the line, when you sit with the discomfort instead of running from it, that's when something new emerges. That's when character begins to form. Mastering delayed gratification is about playing the long game, not just in love, but in every area of your life. When you hold off on pleasure now, you gain power later. When you resist the need to feel good right now, you make room to become good in the future. Don't go out every weekend trying to forget her. Stay in and build. Build your mind, build your health, build your future. While everyone else is chasing temporary highs, you're developing something they'll never touch, discipline, and the quiet confidence that comes with it. Delayed gratification means you trade, nights out for early mornings, cheap validation for genuine self-respect, texting her for reading, lifting, meditating, growing, revenge for redemption. You think the gym just gives you muscles? No, it teaches you to delay gratification. Every rep, every set, every disciplined meal is a micro-decision to suffer now so you can succeed later. And that suffering, when chosen voluntarily, becomes the very foundation of your strength. And here's the twist. The more you delay gratification, the less you need it. You stop needing attention. You stop craving her presence. You stop seeking closure because your emotional economy shifts. You no longer trade in instant hits of dopamine. You're playing in a different market now, the market of mastery. Most men never access this level of strength because they live like addicts, addicted to the next text, the next rush, the next distraction. But you're different now. You're not surviving the breakup, you're using it. Because pain is the price of progress. And when you embrace it, rather than escape it, you become something far more dangerous than a man with a broken heart. You become a man with direction. And that's what terrifies her more than anything. Not the silence, not the distance, but the fact that you didn't fall apart. That instead of chasing pleasure or revenge, you chased discipline. That you vanished into purpose. That you held the line. And every day she doesn't hear from you, the silence gets louder. Because it's not just absence, it's transformation. And the day will come, mark my words, when she checks in. Not with a text, maybe not with words, but with curiosity. She'll wonder what happened to the man she once knew, but by then he'll be gone. In his place will stand someone new, forged in pain, tempered by restraint, built through delayed gratification. You were there. She laughed, and you were the reason. She cried, and you were the comfort. You sent the good morning texts, the late-night calls, the spontaneous plans, the stability in her chaos. You showed up. Again and again, you gave her access to your attention, your time, your emotions, your energy. But then something changed. Maybe she got comfortable, maybe she pulled away. Maybe she stopped seeing the man in front of her because she thought he'd always be there. And now she's gone. Here's what most men get wrong in this moment. They try to convince her of their value after she's already walked away from it. They chase, they explain, they apologize, they beg, they try to negotiate desire. But let me be absolutely clear. You don't prove your worth by staying available. You prove it by removing your presence. See, people don't appreciate what they don't have to earn. When you were always there, messaging first, giving reassurance, showing up without being asked, she didn't have to feel your value. She just expected it. It became background noise, familiar, constant. Now, it's gone, and here's where your power begins. You let her feel that void. You don't fill it. You don't soften the distance. You don't check in to be nice. You go silent, not out of bitterness, but out of dignity. Because your attention is no longer free, your emotions are no longer hers to influence. Your time is now dedicated to you, your growth, your peace, your next chapter. You gave her a front row seat to your life, and she chose to leave. That ticket has expired. This is the moment where you stop asking, what does she feel, and start asking, what am I becoming? But make no mistake, she will feel it. Because you're trying to hurt her, but because your absence is louder than your words ever were. The silence you give her now is the echo of everything you once offered. Your laughter, your warmth, your loyalty, and she'll hear it, whether she admits it or not. This is the paradox of relationships. People often only see the full shape of your presence when they're left alone with its outline, when the morning texts are gone, when no one checks if she made it home safe, when the phone doesn't light up on her worst day, when the one person who used to care deeply has stopped watching. Let that space breathe. Don't rush to replace it with another girl. Don't post stories trying to prove you're thriving. Don't play petty games. Become unavailable. Not out of pride, but out of purpose. This is your time now. To become so whole, so inwardly focused, so unshakably calm, that your old patterns no longer fit your new identity. She will feel the contrast. Before, you were always there, always responding, always adjusting to her mood. Now, you're nowhere. Not because you're hiding, but because you're building. She's scrolling through social media, hoping to see if you've moved on. She's wondering why your name doesn't pop up anymore. She's thinking, did he stop caring? But she's asking the wrong question, because you didn't stop caring. You started respecting yourself. Let her sit with the absence. Let her miss you, and don't rush to fix it. She needs to feel the weight of losing you, not the weight of your efforts to win her back. In that silence, a deeper truth begins to form in her mind, that you were never desperate, that you were never small, that she wasn't your only source of meaning, that you were the anchor, not the passenger. This is what true strength looks like. It's not loud. It doesn't chase. It doesn't need to be seen. It simply withdraws and lets the gap speak. Let her feel the void. Let her wonder. Let her regret. And most importantly, let yourself rise. There comes a moment in every man's life when he has to stop asking, how do I get her back? And start asking, how do I become a man who no longer looks back? That's the pivot. That's the power shift. That's when healing becomes transformation. Because the ultimate win after heartbreak isn't her missing you. It isn't her texting you. It isn't her regretting the decision. The ultimate win is building a life so expansive, so focused, so damn elevated, that she wouldn't even fit in it anymore. Not because you're bitter, not because you're trying to get even, but because you've grown so far beyond who you were when she left, that the version of you she once knew is now a distant memory, even to you. You see, most men respond to breakups by trying to prove their worth to her. They get a new look, chase attention, flex on social media, hoping she notices. But that's not power. That's performance. That's a boy seeking validation from someone who already chose to walk away. You don't need her to see your glow up. You need to live your glow up in silence. until even you don't recognize the man in the mirror anymore. This means starting from the ground up, ruthlessly, relentlessly, intentionally. You rebuild your body, your habits, your finances, your mindset, your relationships, your peace. You take the wreckage of that broken relationship and you build a kingdom out of it. And this time you build it for you, not for her, not for approval, not to prove anything. You build it because you finally understand that your worth was never tied to how someone else treated you. Start with your discipline. Get serious about your time. The world is filled with distractions, temptations, and comfort. You need to be the one man in the room who refuses to be seduced by ease. Wake up earlier, train harder, read more. Cut off anything that doesn't grow you, people, habits, content, old stories. Upgrade your environment. Turn your home into a sanctuary of purpose. Keep it clean, organized, sharp. You don't need chaos around you when you're already confronting it within. Stack high-value habits. Learn a skill that challenges you. Start that side hustle. Take risks that demand your full attention. Build routines that don't depend on motivation but on commitment. Become obsessed with improving, not to fix your brokenness, but to reveal your greatness. Reclaim your standards. You don't accept random attention anymore. You don't chase temporary flings to distract from long-term pain. You raise the bar in your work, in your relationships, in how you speak to yourself. You stop giving yourself the luxury of excuses. And here's what will happen. Quietly, slowly, inevitably, you'll start to outgrow her. Not because she was worthless, not because she was a mistake, but because the man you're becoming no longer fits the life you shared. You'll look back and realize she was part of your past, but she doesn't belong in your future. And that's when the real shift happens. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You don't even need her to see how far you've come. Because the life you've built, the peace you've created, the strength you've forged, that's your reward. She left a man who loved her, but she lost a man who learned to love himself. And now, she doesn't get access. Not because you're angry, but because she no longer qualifies. That's the power of rebuilding a life so good she wouldn't even fit in it anymore. Let her feel the distance. Let her feel the contrast. Let her watch from outside the gates of the kingdom you built without her. But don't look back. You're not there anymore. And neither is she.